What is up, everybody? We've got a special treat for you today because the Blue Turnip Bad podcast about music is back again.
We back, baby.
Oh, yeah. The much anticipated return.
Sorry to leave everybody hanging so long.
first one in the new year, first one in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fake year. Doesn't seem real. Still doesn't seem real. It's February now.
Yeah. It's going by fast.
It is.
And it's been super cold, which is
Has it been cold up there?
Yeah, like every day, man.
Yeah. It's we've been up and down. Actually, the past 2 days it's been 70.
What?
I know. But then we had snow last Friday. So it's like we went from snow to 70 in the course of 4 days.
Dang.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we had like a big snow 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was like one of the ones that just never melted because it's been so cold. So now the snow is all black.
Oh yeah, like that awesome asphalt mixed in there, and
it's beautiful. Yeah. It always looks good for a day, and then it's just like disgusting.
So you get the fresh snow on top of it and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, awesome. If you have never listened to us before, welcome. Brian and I are 2/3 of the rock band Blue Turnip, and we like to do this podcast together. What we're doing right now in this series is we are counting down each of our top 5 albums. We started at the year 2000, and we are working our way up to the present day. And by the time we get up to the present day, who knows, it might be 2023 by the time we get caught up.
Yeah, then we'll have more years that we have to figure out. Yeah. We're going to go through 2020, but now we've already passed that. So it'll be all right.
But today we're talking about 2013. So we got a great year to talk about today. And before we dive in, we always like to have a little segment where we just talk about some music things that are going on. Sometimes it's themed, sometimes it has to do with our music. But today we wanted to do sort of a concert recap, concert review of a show that Brian and I saw just about a month ago now, right?
Yeah, it's a few weeks ago now.
Yeah. And we saw Alan Stone at the Underground in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we just wanted to take a few minutes to let you guys know how sweet the show was and some of the deets, in case you're interested in Alan Stone or on the fence about going to see him on this tour. If he's still rolling, you should do it.
Yeah, he's the man. I saw him for the first time at Bonnaroo in 2013, full band, and this show was called An Evening with Alan Stone, and it was a solo acoustic performance, which was really cool. So it's a real intimate setting. And I think the main thing is that since there's just him and a guitar and a couple of backup singers, showed off his pipes big time. His vocals were just as good as I expected him to be. He's an amazing vocalist for sure.
Yeah, it's funny when one of the first things you said when we got there was like how much he sounds like Stevie Wonder to you. And in his recorded music, it like that doesn't come across all the time. And live, it was like, oh, you could have closed your eyes and been like, I might be listening to Stevie Wonder. Like it was so smooth, that really nice high timbre voice. And one thing I appreciated, and I don't know if this is just because I'm getting really old really fast, but the concert was supposed to start at 8 and he was on stage at 8:02. Dude. And there was no opening act.
No opener.
I was like, this is amazing.
That was awesome. Like opening bands we've talked about usually suck. And me and you were like, please don't let there be an opener. And he just walked out. Like he's like, hey guys, here we go. It was kind of weird, but it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. So he played the format. He played, like Brian said, it was mostly acoustic. I think the last like 2 or 3 songs he had an electric guitar, but it was still just him by himself. But he played the first couple of tunes just solo, and then he brought out his couple of background singers, and that was kind of a cool story. That a few years ago he did a karaoke tour, and he had some of his musician friends sing with him, and also fans could sign up to come on stage and sing with him. And the two background singers that he had were just two people that had signed up to sing karaoke with him at one of his shows a few years ago. And ended up hiring them to come around this tour with him. I was like, oh man, living the dream. That's awesome.
That's so cool. That's like something that you just like wish happens to you every day. So we got to see other people living their dreams. That's cool.
Yeah.
But like you said, that was a really cool story. And I thought he told a lot of really funny stories. He was a really entertaining guy to listen to, like between songs. And for like such a mellow, low-key show, I thought it created a really fun atmosphere for everyone. Like it was, I didn't think there was any dull moments for it being so mellow. But yeah, I thought he was hilarious. He told lots of great stories, and he definitely had me engaged. So it was really cool seeing him solo.
It was like the perfect balance because he didn't talk between every song.
Yeah.
And when he did talk, it was like very interesting. It was either like really cool behind the scenes tidbits or like legitimately funny stories. And he went into that whole bit where he was talking about his kid and like all the funny voices that he does at home
right
for him, and then he like sang in the funny, but yeah, like it was very charming dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can tell that he really truly loves what he does too.
Yeah,
like he loves singing, and that's like he was talking about how when he was first starting out, this is how he used to play. And you could tell it's just like real special for him to be able to do that again after making a name for himself and like scaling it back to the old days. Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Heck yeah. Great crowd too.
Yeah, really fun crowd.
You and I have seen two shows together at the Underground, and for both shows, the crowds were awesome. Super into the music, not like disruptive or annoying or and two very funny crowd moments. So there was I can't remember her name. Do you remember her name? The girl that was over on the stage right side.
I don't remember her name.
Yeah, I wish I remember because they had talked about it so much. Yeah. There was a woman who was between every song, you would like wait for a quiet part where the crowd wasn't as loud and would shout out, "I love you, Alan." And like he was like very clearly like hearing it, and he smiled the first couple times, and as it happened like the fourth and fifth time, he like engaged her and was talking to her and stuff, and he dedicated a song to her, and he ended up sending shots up to the stage. Like, didn't she send tequila shots up to the stage for him? That was really fun.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I was just talking to my wife about this the other day because it came into my mind for some reason. There was the woman, she was maybe like, it was standing room only, but like 3 rows in front of us. And when she like FaceTimed a little bit of that song with her friend, do you remember that?
No, I don't know if I noticed that. No.
She held up her phone and she was FaceTiming so that her friend could see this one song. And she only did it for like half of one song. It was like no big deal. Yeah. But the really funny part was for all of us that were behind her, you know, the way that FaceTime works, we're just seeing the guy. And he, you know, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and like he's like in his like pajamas, like in bed, like looking all crazy, just like very seriously, like because staring and listening. And everybody around us started taking out their phones and taking pictures of this poor guy who was like had no idea that everybody was looking at him. And but hopefully he enjoyed this. Hopefully he enjoyed the song and had a great
I hope so.
But yeah, those were 2 fun crowd moments, two live music experiences right there.
Yeah, dude, it's just so good to see live music again. I've got tons of concerts coming up, and I'm just excited about it. But
nice.
That was a great show, and I think he's starting to live stream some of them. If anybody is interested in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to pay for it, but experience what we did.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
It's very cool too, because I didn't realize. I haven't kept up with him for a few. Like, he's a guy that I've always liked, but I haven't really kept track of his more recent work. And I didn't realize that he did an album recently where he re-recorded a lot of stuff, sort of in that stripped down style. And so I listened to that album the day after the concert because I was feeling like still listening to him, and it was almost like reliving the concert because it was like, oh wow, like really similar versions. And so that's a cool experience too, because you don't always get, like, sometimes the live experience is very, very different from the albums, or But yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, and one more, I think I might speak for both of us, but this when he played "Lay It Down," I thought that was my favorite song. The one he did on piano.
Yeah.
That's pretty epic.
What did he? Yeah. He actually stopped. He stopped after the first chorus, or well, he didn't stop playing, but like he like stopped singing to tell us all that it was his favorite song from the album.
Yeah,
he was like, I hope you guys are appreciating this. Like, this is the best one.
Yeah, he delivered. Yeah, that was funny.
Nice. Well, long story short, great concert. I'm not the tour's still going, like Brian said. If you get the chance to go, it's totally worth it. Or live stream it. Yeah, great show. Super dude, really talented. Yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Post show.
One last thing, because I didn't realize he's a very subtle guitarist, but he's a good guitar player. None of it's flat, like it's not like flashy solo stuff, but like I think one of the things that I said to you as we were walking out was I was like, I think he played what, like 14, 15 songs totally by himself on the guitar, and I only noticed him make 2 mistakes for the entire night. Yeah. Like he's not, you know, they're not just 3 chord songs. Like he does some really intricate stuff, and there's a lot of like 7th chords and dissonances, and he's got different patterns and fingers and stuff. Like he's really good. Very good player.
Yeah. Good point. Cool.
Yeah, man. All right.
Auto
sweet.
Successful segment.
Heck yes. Very successful. All right. Well, let's get into 2013. So as always, I've got a couple of honorable mentions. And the only reason Brian doesn't have honorable mentions is because he deleted them all. So
yeah. I have an OCD problem. I like to keep everything clean and concise. Trim the fat. It's not worthy anyway.
Yeah, they're fine. No, these are, you know, you think about the amount of albums that come out in a year. It's like it's hard to just pick 5. That's what I ended up with, a few extras.
Yeah.
Most
of
years,
it is.
but I only have 3 this year. I know some years I have like 8 or 9, but this year is nice, short and sweet list. We've got blues legend Buddy Guy. He came out with a double album in 2013 called Rhythm and Blues. It's not my most favorite Buddy Guy album, but he's just so much fun, and he always has great guests on there, and he just has a great like funky blues vibe. And this album is just like almost like him at his funnest. Like it's very, I don't want to say silly, but like there's some like really legitimately funny lyrics, and like he's just obviously having a great time, and the band's obviously having a great time. So super fun one.
Nice.
Great album cover too, with him wearing a full polka dot suit, like so sharp. Yeah,
very nice.
We've got, this is an artist I just want to take a second to talk about because he is so great, but he almost exclusively puts out EPs, so he's not on any of my top 5 countdowns because we're sticking to albums and not EPs. But Jacob Banks, he's an English R&B artist. And he came out with his debut album this year. And to my knowledge, it's his only full album. It's an 8-track album. It's called The Monologue. And it's you know, it sounds like a first album. Like he hadn't fully developed his sound yet moving forward. And actually, he started really young. He's like 17 or 18 years old. So if you listen to his second album, the first time I listened to his second album, I thought it was a different guy because his voice had changed so much. Because like his voice dropped as he got older, and I was like, oh wow.
Hit puberty.
But I heard him. He had a couple songs in. There was a show that my wife and I watched like a season and a half of called Black Lightning, and it just had music from all these awesome modern artists, and mostly Black artists, and a lot of R&B and like really cool stuff that was a little bit off the beaten path. And he had a couple songs in there, and I ended up looking him up afterwards because I liked the song that was in the episode so much, and bought 3 of his things, this album and a couple of EPs. And just really cool guy, really cool, like soulful gravelly voice, and good songwriter. He plays a couple instruments as well, guitar, keyboard. So it's yeah, very cool. Nice. And then third one, a guy I've talked about several times on the podcast. He was on my countdown once, and I think this is his second or third honorable mention. Jamie Cullum has another album this year, Momentum, 2013 album. He's always great. That awesome kind of like jazz pop hybrid, and he plays really interesting piano, and always there's a great cover or two on there. So Momentum fits that bill in all regards as well. So
nice.
There's a few 2013 honorable mentions.
Dude, funny enough, I actually have an honorable mention.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have it. I guess I was debating on what number 5 on this one, but it's the Kyle Gass Band self-titled album, and Kyle Gass is the other guy from Tenacious D. And he has 2 solo albums. This was his debut one, and it's freaking awesome. The guy is like extremely talented. The songs are hilarious lyrically, but like really cool rock songs. And he plays a lot of recorder solos.
Oh, nice.
on like these heavy rock songs. And it's kind of dope. Like it works really well for some reason. But yeah, shout out to the Kyle Gass Band.
There you go.
Honorable mention.
Nice. I know you've sent me some of their stuff. It's really fun. Super fun.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Good times. He's probably way more talented musically than Jack Black.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like not as like well known, obviously.
He's very funny in his own right as well.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious.
Gosh, was it last year when he and Jack Black did that Beatles thing when they did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
so
I was
good.
losing my mind when they did that. Like it's almost a like beat for beat cover, but they changed like 3 lyrics. And then there's just a music video of them doing all sorts of goofy stuff, like running around in the ocean, like butt naked and stuff. And they're so funny.
Yeah, they're great.
Funny. Jack Black sang all the guitar solos in.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's great.
Well, cool. We actually didn't decide who was going to go first. Should we like?
I guess it doesn't
rock,
matter.
Paper, scissors.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, ready?
Like rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Okay. All right.
Rock, paper, scissors,
shoot.
You're just listening to.
There's a little delay.
Yeah.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Both got paper. All right.
All right. I'll go on your cue.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
No way.
I'll go first.
All right. Go for it.
Wow.
Oh man.
We were just talking about Mario, and that reminded me of Mario Party 2. There's the rock, paper, scissors duel game, but it's like
rock, paper, Mario.
Yeah, Mario, Peach, Bowser.
Yeah. I always thought that was so funny because Peach beats Mario just because he's so in love, he can't handle it.
Yeah.
That's how he loses.
In love.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, sorry. You got too many jokes that I don't want to say. Shouldn't say.
I catch your drift.
They're sacred and precious cartoon characters that are very important parts of the zeitgeist, and they should be treated with respect. All right, cool. My number 5. My top 5 is a little all over the place in 2013. Just to give everybody a heads up, and I think number 5 is definitely one of these where it's like, oh, okay. This is a band that only has one album, and they put out in 2013. They are a German instrumental group called Wintergarten, and this is their self-titled album, Wintergarten. I heard of this guy because if you may have seen it on YouTube and not known that it's this guy. He's the one who builds those like giant, mostly wooden marble music machines where he packs like thousands of marbles into them, and they like fall on bells and bass guitars, and he like they're like these giant music boxes that he designs and builds. They're super, super cool.
That's sweet.
And that's kind of the basis of this band, is like he had built music boxes and designed his own instruments, and he kind of had these songs that he wanted to record, but like had always just done stuff by himself. So he was like, we'll form this band, and like it'd be kind of like a way to turn some of these things that I have into songs and showcase some of these instruments and stuff. And it came out really cool. It's very innovative. Like I said, some of the tracks are based around riffs that are like played on music boxes that he built and designed, and you can it's very real. Like it's almost like you're in the room with them. Like you can hear the music box being cranked in those songs. There are some songs you can like hear instruments shifting around or hear people shifting around, like because they're playing like fully acoustic things. Like I mentioned as my teaser in the last one, they played the typewriter as percussion on a couple of the songs.
Nice. That's cool.
But yeah, they're kind of all over the place. They range from like really like nice, almost like some of it reminds me of like Eels, the blinking lights stuff, that kind of mellow, ethereal bell keyboard stuff. But some of it's a little on the heavier side, a little more electronic side. Yeah, and actually, it's funny that we're talking about this week because he just came out with a brand new music video for one of these songs, like a throwback music video. 9 years later, last week.
Wow.
Do you remember that? It was like that doodle, the doodle thing that everyone was doing, where you like draw lines and the sled guy goes down the hill and you like wreck him and stuff.
Yeah.
He did one of those for one of the songs on this album, and it was super intricate. And he had like tons of the little sled guys going, and they were like flipping and all this stuff to the music. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he's still doing stuff every now and then, and yeah, building his contraptions and whatnot. So
that's cool, man. I just imagine people like tuning in, listening to this, be like top 5 albums of 2013. What is it? Wintergarten.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, these guys don't know anything. Where's the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Or they know way too much is really the problem. They listen to too much. But
that's what I always like hearing your picks, because like you get into some really deep stuff, which I think proves that we know a lot.
We'll try.
I like that. Digging deep.
For me, it's not really genre or popular. You know, I've had some really popular stuff that we've talked about, like but it's just happens to be some weird stuff every now and then.
Yeah.
But speaking of,
that's a good way to kick it off.
If you've never heard of some of the bands we're talking about, or if it's stuff that you're like, man, that was 8 years ago and I want to listen to that again, we do curate playlists that include selections from the top 5 albums that we pick. So we make a Spotify one and we make a YouTube one. The Spotify one you can find in the description to the video, and the YouTube one we put in the info card in the corner. So if you want to listen to some of these tunes, I think they're usually about 30 songs. We usually pick out about 3 songs from each album. Good times.
Yeah, it's fun times. Yeah, for sure. Cool, man. Nice one. All right, number 5 it is. I've got Bankrupt ! By the band Phoenix. A little background on the band first. They are a French band and they speak French, but they never gained any recognition in France. So they started writing songs in English and marketing to the American crowd, and they just took off. So America accepted Phoenix, France did not. Call it a win for America, baby. But it's my favorite Phoenix album, Bankrupt. I think it's like the perfect example of what you would call dream pop. It's like it's super catchy, really fun to listen to. There's not much else like it. It's a defining sound for sure. It's got really heavy synthesizers. That's where like the dreaminess comes from. And a lot of like heavy vocal effects that he uses. He uses some kind of vocal machine when he sings. And lyrically, it's kind of goofy sometimes because it's translated from French to English. But it's really cool stuff. The one thing I have against the album, and probably why it's my number 5, is I think it starts out like too strong. I think the first 4 songs are the best one, just in my opinion. But it's only a 10-song album. It's probably like 40 or less minutes. So it doesn't drag or anything. Overall, super great album by a really fun dream pop band. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I always think of Phoenix, like in my mind, like you mentioned the synthesizers and stuff. They're kind of like 80s pop, but like a lot better. Like way like 80s music just sounds like so dated, and like they definitely have that flair to it, but with a much more modern spin. Yeah.
Yeah, no, like super snares with like the crazy echoes, like the
Yeah.
classic 80s snare. Yeah. No, it's better. It's better than that. That's an interesting comparison though. I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Modern day 80s band.
I haven't heard the term dream pop before. Is that one, did you coin that one, or is that one that's
No, I've heard that one before.
Oh, you've heard that one before?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was just assumed because it sounds like dreamy.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can hear that too. Yeah. I learned a new it was one of my honorable mentions from a year or two ago, Kimbra. And her genre is indie pop. And I was like, aren't those the opposites of each other? The opposites of each other?
Yeah.
Indie pop, but yeah. You can put any word in front of pop and just have a great time.
Don't we describe our band as some kind of pop?
I think
maybe
I think we put pop. I think we put pop rock on
pop rock.
Yeah,
pop rocks. Yeah,
because I think our logic behind that was when we listened to the different bands in the rock genre on CD Baby, we just didn't sound at all like any of them. Yeah. So we were like, we better put ourselves in a different category so that people don't just like hear it and just like, what is this?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that was smart.
Who knows what we're
love pop.
We're a little all over the place.
Yeah.
But in a good way.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. My number 4. This is the other album that I teased in the last episode. I said we had a North Carolina band. This is a band from Asheville, North Carolina, called The Broadcast. And back-to-back debut albums. This is their debut album called Dodge the Arrow. And they're like a rock / soul group. They got a really classic, like kind of old school sound, with like the guitar, organ, bass, drums, very soulful, alto vocal, and some of the songs feature horns. But it's just like, it really caught my ear. It was on, this is the one album on my top 5 for 2013 that I'd never heard before. I found this one in my research. It was on the top 100 for WNTW, a radio station that we used to listen to a lot when we were over there. And I was very glad it was on their top 100 because it caught my ear right away, and listened to it, loved it. It's 8 songs, super short listen. Really good. Really good stuff.
Yeah, so much good stuff comes out of Asheville. Like when you think of like North Carolina, that part of North Carolina, you always think of like bluegrass and stuff, but Asheville is kind of like the sleeper, eclectic place that has like lots of cool genres. And we saw the band Lay Special in Charlotte last November. And the River Rats, they were from Asheville too.
Yeah. They were the opening group.
Just made that connection. Asheville is like a really cool city for music. So definitely reliable.
Yeah.
For the top 5.
Totally.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, man.
Keeping it local. I dig it.
Heck yeah. Shouting out.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else to say about that one?
I'm good, man.
Cool. I'll take it. I think I teased this one last time. I don't remember because it was a while ago, but I think I said something about hip hop, like my first time bringing in hip hop.
You did. Yep.
Well, if I didn't, I just teased it now anyway. So it's 21 Pilots. You could call it their debut album, sort of. They had a couple indie releases before this, but it's the album Vessel. I like to tell a little story first to get into this one. So the first time I saw 21 Pilots was at Bonnaroo in 2013. It was the 12 noon time slot on Thursday. So the worst possible time for a band to play at Bonnaroo. And that's a really cool memory to me because, like, look at them now. One of the biggest bands in the world, and I saw them before they were anything. And they actually played the album Vessel in its entirety at that Bonnaroo show. I had no idea what it was. And that was before they even released the album. They played the whole thing. And they put on just like a phenomenal show, climbing speaker towers, doing backflips, total showman. So nice. Their live performance definitely sucked me into getting really interested in them. But anyways, on the when you go to Bonnaroo, their website has a link to all the bands that you could click on and their lineup, so you can sample all the bands while you're like building your schedule. And the song that 21 Pilots had was Holding On to You. And that one just hooked me instantly. I'd never heard anyone like infuse hip hop, pop, and rock so well before. It just felt really good to listen to. Like I discovered a new genre, I guess. And it's kind of funny because they describe it as schizophrenic pop. That's a self-coined term that they made, and I think it describes their music super well. Or you could call it, I always call it hip hop for white boys, but it's really cool stuff. Tyler Joseph, I think he's a great songwriter. Josh Dunn, phenomenal drummer, one of my favorite modern day drummers for sure. He does a really good job of infusing like acoustic drums with electronic drums, which I always think is really cool. Like Muse does that a lot as well. I always really like that sound. But it's just the two guys, and they work together super well as a duo. They're best friends growing up as kids. I do think Vessel is their best album. It was before all like the big time production. I wouldn't say they sold out, but they definitely, after this album, blew up and things got more produced. So this one just feels like more like them, if that makes sense. But like I said, their live show rules. I'm actually going to see them for the 4th time in Charlotte in September.
All right.
So ever since I saw them live at Bonnaroo, I've been a fan, and I love this album.
Yeah. You really can throw any word out in front of pop. That's I think that's the theme of our episode today.
Schizophrenic.
Dream pop, schizophrenic pop.
Yeah.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember you told me what an impression they made on you at Bonnaroo, and how much fun you had at that show. But that's really cool that you heard the record like before. And now it's like one that you know and love. That's a cool experience.
Yeah, it was fun. And like when you see a band and you don't know any of their songs and you're still like into it, I always think that's a good sign.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah,
it takes a lot. Yeah, I mean, and that's the really tough. You know, we were really hard on opening bands earlier because they're like opening bands suck.
Yeah,
but it's such a tough thing because like nobody's there for you. And well, for the most part, you know, occasionally there's some people that are there to see them, and nobody knows your songs.
Yeah.
So like if you don't really draw people in, then it's just like an uphill losing battle. I'm gaining a much I never had much of an appreciation for like showmanship and stage presence, and sort of like a well-crafted image before, but in the past like year or so, I've gotten very interested in some of the bands that I like and sort of how much of that they do on their own. You know, some of the really, really popular artists have like teams of people that help them out with stuff like that. But so many of even artists that are like relatively popular, have been around for a long time and have a well-established fan base, they still have to do a lot of that stuff themselves, of like stage design and image and album covers. I was just watching my wife and I watched a Switchfoot live stream last night. It wasn't live at the time. We were very late watching it. But they designed their own album cover for their first and third albums. Like they did their own art. And like it's just, you just don't think about stuff like that. And like you said, like a band coming out and like knowing like, hey, we need to like really blow people out of the water and like stage antics and presence and stuff. It's cool. Right. It's cool that he and the band crafted that so well and made that impression on you.
Totes.
Yeah, man. Cool. Speaking of, actually, my number 3 is a group that you and I saw as an opening act and made such an impression on me that I bought 2 of their records. And that's Haken, Haken. We talked about the Underground earlier today. That was the first show that you and I watched, the Underground, together. We went to see Devin Townsend. And Haken was one of the opening groups. They were the good opening group. The other group was rough. The other group was not good. But Haken came out. They played 6 songs, and I didn't love every song, but I was blown away by their talent and musicianship on every single song. And we were right in front of the drummer, and the dude was unreal.
Yeah. Like we were literally like right in front of him. Yeah. Because he was set up like on the side of the stage where we were.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, why are the drums like way up at the front? And then we were like, oh,
this guy's awesome.
But they played, on that tour, there were 3 of the songs from the set were from their newest album at the time, which I think is called Vector. And then they played only 1 song from this album, their 2013 album, The Mountain. And this is, I didn't really realize as I was like reading about it and researching it, this is a really, really highly regarded prog metal album. I saw it, one of the prog magazines I follow online put it in their top 10 prog albums from the past 20 years. Wow. And it's really, really good. It's a departure. It's a big change for them. They experimented with a lot more colors on this album. Their previous 2 were just like very, very heavy, and this one starts off with like a really mellow track, and there's like really nice harmonies, and it's very piano driven. And there's some like jazz elements in this one, and there's some old school like 70s classic prog elements in this one. Whack my headphones out. But it's if you're into progressive music, it like truly in the progressive sense, where like this one is going to give you a lot of different styles and colors in one album. This is a great one. It's got your beautiful, it's got your heavy, and it's got everything in between. Really, really cool record. I actually had a ton of trouble picking 3 songs for the playlist. I ended up just going with the first 3 because the first 2 run into each other, and then the third one is their biggest hit single that they've ever had in their career. Cool. So I was like, okay, sure, but like you could pick any 3 from this album and be like, sweet. But yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah, and for me, going back to the live show, like just personal perspective, for prog music, for me, I struggle with like listening to it, like sitting down and listening to it. But when I see prog live, it like blows me away. And I think it's just because I have a short attention span, I guess, for like longer songs. But there's something super special about seeing, particularly for me, progressive music live, because like you can see what they're playing and realize how insane it actually is. Because I play the drums, and that drummer was just like, he was amazing. So it's really cool to see it live.
Oh yeah, especially like because I've seen a handful, and not everybody is as tight as they were, because like sometimes you get in the studio and you get as many tries as you want, and you get to do some recording tricks and stuff, and then live it's like really, really hard. Like you and I saw Todd Rundgren, and like he used to do a lot of prog stuff and doesn't do it as much anymore. And he played 1 prog song in his set, and he had a ton of trouble with it. Like it was like, oh, like obviously this is pretty tough. But like they got up there, and like they do some crazy stuff. Like they do some stuff where like if like even trying to count it out is like unreal difficult. And just the fact that like you just like jaw dropped. It's like it's like those memes where like all the math is like coming up in front of your face and like scrolling around. You're like, but just like to play it as perfectly and precise as they did, while still being like really heavy and fun. It was cool. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned like trying to count the time signatures. What I mentioned earlier, we saw the band Lay Special. They're like a prog electronic prog metal band that me and Kyle saw. And like a bunch of the songs they were playing, we would look at each other and be like, what is this? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I think it's 7. No, dude, it's not. Yeah. That's a fun part of it.
I don't want to spoil it because it is one of my honorable mentions from our 2014 episode. But I was listening to a song yesterday that had a whole ending section in 7 that I was so shocked that this artist did it. Like I'll next time. Just
right,
cool. Listeners, like you'll be like, what?
Oh man, I love stuff like that. Always counting.
All right, that's enough of me. We're headed over to you. What's your number 3?
All right, number 3, Wonderful Glorious by Eels. Real quick plug, because Eels just came out with their 14th studio album called Extreme Witchcraft. Came out last week. It's freaking awesome. Going to see them on their Lockdown Hurricane tour in May. Highly recommend it. They put on a great live show, but I'll talk about that at a later date. But and a cool thing too, I got the CD yesterday because physical copies rule. And on the inside of the CD, it's like, thank you for buying a physical copy of the CD. Here's some things you wouldn't know if you only streamed it. And then it shows you like all the people who played instruments and whatnot. And they always say like they're a really funny band, and they always list all their other albums. It always says some other Eels albums you may or may not enjoy, and then it lists all of them.
Everyone.
That's funny. Yeah. Like all the live ones. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It also said like, congratulations on buying or stealing this album. Like it's in your possession now. So that was funny.
That is funny.
Like just a quick plug for like how cool it is to still buy physical CDs and records, because you get all the fun stuff like that. And the album artwork, which you talked about earlier, I always like actually like having the artwork. Super cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, this album, Wonderful Glorious, probably like their 10th or 11th album. I can't remember off the top of my head because there's so many. But I would say it's a wonderful, glorious album. To me, I'm working on my dad jokes because I'm a dad now. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, it was.
but to me, Wonderful Glorious is a better, like more mature, I guess I would say, version of Hombre Lobo, which I talked about in an earlier episode. But both those albums see the band take like a more experimental, I guess I would say like hard rock approach, some pretty heavy stuff. And this is one of the more fun Eels albums, I'd say musically and lyrically. I would say one of my favorite songs is Open My Present. It's about being a little kid, getting impatient about having to wait to open their present. It's super goofy, but it's really fun.
Nice.
And my wife can confirm that I play this song for my birthday or like Christmas every single year. The song is just like, I want to open my present. Look at it wrapped up in little pink bows. Yeah, it's a good one. But back to like the overall feel of the album, like it's just pure rock. There's tons of fuzz, lots of guitar distortion, lots of vocal distortion. Yeah, pretty intense like rock stuff. Super fun to listen to. And like speaking of the fuzz, there's really fun music videos for this album. They all kind of like coincide, a few of the music videos do. But for the video of the song Peach Blossom, it's just like the band playing live, and it zooms down on this giant guitar effect pedal. It's like twice as big as a normal one, and it just says fuzz on it, and he smashes it with his foot and starts playing the riff. So that was just like pure Eels. Like they could be so goofy at times, and you could just tell they had so much fun making this album. That's why I love this one. So yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's funny. I actually have this is not all of them, but this is a little stack right here. A student gave me their parent gave me a gift card for Christmas. It was very generous, and I spent it all on used CDs. Well, a couple of them are new, but most of them are used. And I think I got 11 of them. and so they're all rolling in slowly because, you know, since they're all used, they're all coming in from different places and stuff. But that's been really fun. Like you said, cracking them open and looking at all the stuff inside. And
yeah, dude, like the lyric books and stuff, you can read along with them. Like I love it. It never gets old to me. CDs are getting hard to come by too, because like when I ordered the EOS one, it sold out. I pre-ordered it and it sold out, so I had to wait like two extra weeks to actually get it.
Yeah,
so they don't print them as much anymore, I guess.
That's true, and I think it's purposeful because they know that there's kind of an exclusive market for it now. So like when they make it like, hey, they're gonna run out. I think they do that on purpose. But
that was a first for me. Yeah.
One thing I like is the cardboard ones. I really like they don't break.
That's the one. That's what this one was.
Yeah,
they do that a lot now.
Because the jewel case is like the first time you open them, it's gonna crack in half. Like it's just
it comes like already.
Yeah.
Every time.
And I just like, I don't know. It's just like I feel like you get a better feel of the art because you don't get that like glare off of the and the booklets are so much easier to get out and there's like there's a lot of positives about the cardboard.
Oh, for sure.
All right, cool. Let's see. My number 2, we've got Sir the Knighted Paul McCartney with his 2013 album New.
It's a great one.
Yeah, I love this one. I still remember I got this one for Christmas. And you and I always had a Christmas tradition that dad would always get us Sim CDs. And we would basically take turns listening to them on the big speakers downstairs. And I remember you were listening to stuff in the morning and I went down there in the afternoon and this was the first album that I put on. And just being like, man, this is like really different for Paul in a really good way. It's not because like this wasn't his most, because you had the Memory Almost Full album, and then before that he did the Chaos and Creation record, and like I like both of those, but they both kind of feel like to me like he's like a little bit, not stale's the wrong word, but like a little bit of like he's done stuff like this a lot before. And there's some really standout tracks on both of them that are very interesting, but this one like comes right out of the gates with like immediately like a harder rock and kind of like blues rock song, and the mix is really different and the vocals really fuzzy. And then there's like 2 or 3 songs in a row that all have like a really different sound. I mean, it's Paul, like it's definitely his voice, but it's like very different mix, very different vibe, very different sound. There's a few songs on this album that like I think are some of his just finest songcraft. I think I put my 3 favorites on the playlist, On My Way to Work.
I love that one.
Such a good one. And I love sometimes like he does something in that song that he used to do in the old Beatles songs from like the early 60s, which is he repeats verses. Like sometimes in those old Beatles songs, they would write like 2 verses and then at the end they would sing the first verse again. And I always really liked that, especially if it was like a good, fun verse. It just makes the song like a lot easier to learn and sing along to. And with an artist like Paul, it's like, that's what you want to do. You want to be able to like sing the song and like it, but at the same time, the song is like so creative and it has these changes that are surprising and fun. And then in the back half, I Can Bet, just like super, super fun, upbeat song. And then the second to last song on there is called Everybody's Looking at Her. Like a very kind of like soft and interesting pop song, and with these like kind of abrupt electronic bits that come in at the end of the chorus. And actually fantastic hidden track on this album. Sometimes the hidden tracks are really goofy or like whatever. It's obviously a demo, like it's a song that like it's just like they, for whatever reason, he didn't like do it with the full band or whatever, but it's this real like eerie song about a guy in a relationship who's sort of like scared to like put himself out there. He's like scared to like say I love you and be overly emotional. And it's like, it's very, very minor and dark. And it's like, it's very powerful little song. And you like get to the end of it, the album, and this hidden track comes on, and it's so sad and soft, and you're like, wow, like pull that one out of there. Yeah, I really like this one. This is a great record. Great.
Yeah, album. It's awesome. I actually saw them in 2013, but I just looked up, this one came out in October. I saw him in June, so it must have been right before it. I don't know. I don't remember if he had a single out at the time or not, but yeah, it's a super good album. And I noticed like to me, a lot of times albums are a little top heavy. It seems like, I don't know if that's to get people hooked or whatever, but it's cool that you're able to pick songs like at the end. Just something like small that I noticed.
Yeah,
that's how you know it's a good one.
Totally.
Yeah,
totally.
Sweet.
Yeah, and you're right. I was actually, because most albums are. I think you're right, because it's like, especially in modern day with streaming, like it's funny because I've been listening to so much music that I don't know, to try, do research for these top fives, and you go to the album page on Spotify or whatever, and so much of the time, especially if it's an artist that's like not super well known, you see like the first track will have a whole bunch of listens, and it just goes down as you get towards the end of the album. And I think like the idea is like, hey, if we pack all the best stuff up front, more people will hear that stuff, because that by the end, not as many people are going to be engaged. But and
like the singles are always the first or second song.
Yeah,
that's a given.
And even that on this album, I think it's 4 and 6 were the singles, Queenie Eye and New. So yeah, stuffed right in the middle.
That's what you can do when you're freaking Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
put the single as the hidden track. Nobody would care.
Nice. All right, man. Over to you. What's your number 2, my man?
Number 2, I got Evil Friends by Portugal the Man. They do their own artwork too. Fun fact.
Oh, nice.
I know the cover on this one was their lead singer, John Gorley, is an artist, and he does all their artwork. It's really like psychedelic, definitely like satanic stuff, but it's pretty cool. And this album's called Evil Friends. But another band that I discovered at Bonnaroo, that's like another theme. It's like, for me, I'm like Bonnaroo, like all these music festivals. Just want to say it's like an awesome way to discover bands. Even if you don't go to the festival, a lot of times I'll pull up lineups and just click through the bands, and that's how I find a lot of new stuff. If it's like a lineup that looks like one that I like. But anyways, yeah, I discovered them at Bonnaroo 2013, that same year. They were on their Evil Friends tour, obviously, and I ended up seeing them on this tour 4 times because I loved that show so much. They played in North Carolina like 3 times for that tour for whatever reason. So that was pretty cool. But it's definitely my favorite Portugal the Man album. Sure, it's a little less experimental than what you're probably used to for them. A little more mainstream, I guess you could say. But I've always been a sucker for like a good, catchy song. And there's tons of them on there. It was produced by Danger Mouse. You can definitely hear his influence. That he's there, but he definitely left the band enough room to breathe, take ownership of it. And one thing I really like about this album is there's lots of running themes in the songs where you can hear the same lyrics and the same melodies throughout the whole album. I'm always a big fan of that, like little Easter eggs, I guess you could call them. But Portugal the Man, we've talked about this before, like with American Ghetto. They're just like the masters of flow and good vibes, something I always respect, like for a full album. I think they're one of the best at that. But it's fun to sing along to. You can headbang to it. It's got some good, like almost like 90s rock sounding kind of stuff. It's got some good electronic influence. It rocks, man. It's a good one. One of my go-tos.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So this is, I've actually been meaning to ask you this question for years. And now I get to ask you it in the public forum of this podcast.
Oh, gosh.
So, like I hear you joke about the like satanic elements of Portugal the Man all the time. Is that like a joke? Is that like a tongue-in-cheek thing for them, or is that like a sincere, like, oh, they're pretty interested in Satan kind of thing?
It seems like they're kind of interested.
Really?
Yeah, like there's little like things in almost all their albums. Like they have one called The Satanic Satanist, which is kind of funny. Like, so I don't know if like you should take it seriously or not. But like the running themes of this one is about wanting to be evil. Like it's kind of creepy, like when you really dig into it. And like I said, their artwork's kind of gives you like creepy vibes. Because I remember our mom and dad used to get real mad at me for like listening to it because it was so evil. But they seem like nice guys, so if they're into like witchcraft or anything, they're pretty nice. I don't know. I'll have to look deeper into that one. I'm sure there's some like weird connections you can make to like weird like satanic cult stuff, but I don't know. Which is like something that you hear about from like classic rock stuff like Led Zeppelin, like being in all the black magic and crap. I don't know.
You spend enough time in the wilderness of Alaska by yourself.
Yeah.
Satan comes to you at the crossroad of trails.
Yeah. So I didn't answer your question at all. Like, I guess I don't know. Like, it could be funny or it could be for real. Who knows? But they definitely talk about it a lot.
I've got one. It's again. I'm teasing next year one. That next year, my number 2 album is like, I've listened to it so many times, and I always have trouble telling him like, is this kind of like a Satan-y thing, or is this kind of like it's hard to, sometimes you're like sifting through the weeds of like, is this just metal or is this like,
right?
Yeah, but
me and my wife just rewatched Josie and the Pussycats. All the subliminal messaging stuff. I bet that's what's happening to us. Like one day we're gonna like commit mass suicide or something.
Oh my gosh, I hope not.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy, but I couldn't think of anything else.
I was just like, I hope not. But what are you gonna do? If it happens, it happens. It was worth it for the jams.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Oh man. I was just, speaking of Satan, I was looking at my top 5, and I scrolled back to make sure this is my first top 5 since we started that doesn't have a Christian album in it.
Oh, see, dude. So, yeah, you're slowly turning to the evil side.
Yeah,
like it's an obvious progression there.
Actually, next
over
year,
time,
2014 as well. There's not one, but 2015 has one. Okay, cool. So
okay, nice.
But it's definitely we talked about that when we very first started. I think it was like 60 to 70% of my first 10 years were Christian music, and for the last 10 years it's closer to 20-30. But
that's not because we're like worshiping the devil. It's because Christian music's not as good anymore.
Christian music got worse. Yeah, for sure.
Like straight up.
Yeah. And there's some good songs. Like, I'm a worship leader, so I try and keep track of new music at least a little bit when I can. I try and take a session like every month or two where I like look through music and try and hear some stuff. And there's some good songs out there. I will say it's definitely like from 2013 to 2016, 17 was like dire straits. There's like so little good music in there. And there's some good stuff now. Like you can find some gems from the past like 4 or 5 years. For sure. But full albums are tough to come by. It's tough to come by a full, definitely. Like, anyways, number 1. I always feel bad when this happens. When my number 1 is like an album that like nobody in the world has ever heard. I'm like, God dang it.
It's okay.
But at least I had some. My 2 and 3. There's some people out there that know those guys. Number 1, we've got the artist is Jono, 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 and this is his debut album, Requiem. Man, I got four of my five, no, three of my five are debut albums on this top five. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I heard this from a friend of mine who sent me an article and was like, hey, this seems like, just from the article I read, a guy that you might be kind of interested in. And I was like, okay. And I put on the first song and I was like, whoa, that's really, really cool. This is a 9-song album. And it's like somewhere between like straightforward metal, like kind of the old school metal, like the 80s metal-ish. And it's got some progressive elements. There's big time Muse influence in there, you can hear for sure. Cool. Also some big time Trans-Siberian Orchestra influence you can hear. But the dude, he has a voice that I'm not usually crazy about. It's that like Ronnie James Dio, like how will I die? It's like that kind of voice. Yeah. But the songs are so good that like I actually have gotten to the point where like I'm glad that he sings that way, because like it soars over the song so well. And he doesn't do it on every single song, because like there's like 4 really, really nice ballads on there. And he's a little more pulled back and less of that on those. And, yeah. But yeah, the album's got some like real straight up rockers on them that are just super fun. There's some, like I mentioned, there's some ballads that are really nice, and some of them just stay mellow for the whole time. Some of them have some really nice builds as they go through. But it's in my opinion, it's totally worth a listen. At least the first 2 songs are my 2 favorite songs on there. Like the front loadedness a little bit, but they're both super different. They give you a really good picture of kind of what you're getting into. The first one's like very driving minor key, like metal song, and then the second one is almost like has like gospel vibes, I guess, but like with really, really heavy metal guitars that come in. And so yeah, it's a really cool record. Really, really cool record.
That sounds cool. I'm part of the whole world who hasn't heard it, so I'll listen to it.
Yeah, it's been out since 2013. I think the most popular track is the first one, and it has like 20-some thousand listens on Spotify. So it's like, yeah, people don't know this one. But yeah, I'm very, very, very grateful for my friend who sent this to me, because it's really, really cool.
Yeah, are they still kicking around? Or
I don't think so, and I don't know if they were ever a touring group. I think it's kind of like this guy's passion project, that he like puts a band together and goes into the studio. And there are 3 albums. This is the only one that's on my countdown. The second one has some really good songs on it. The third one is kind of like, it's not like bad, but it's just like you've been doing the same thing for 3 albums in a row. It's kind of like, okay,
right. I got you.
But man, yeah, this is something special. And it's so different than a lot of the stuff that I listen to, that sometimes when I put it on, I'm kind of like, I hope I'm still gonna like this when I turn it on this time. And I turn it on, and like by the 3rd song, I'm like, yeah. And, yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
Sweet. Dig it, man. Very eclectic list as usual. My number 1 is Corsicana Lemonade by the band White Denim. Definitely a sleeper of a band. They have an incredible catalog. This one though, Corsicana Lemonade, is on another level, dude. It's quick, crispy. Like in my opinion, it's probably a perfect album. It's one that I listen to constantly, but it's just good old fashioned rock and roll. A lot of like blues rock kind of influence. I'd compare it to probably like some really good classic rock stuff that you hear, like deeper stuff, because they just did like a Little Feat cover that was freaking awesome.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude, they're such an impressive band. But like the most impressive thing to me about them is like the little nuances you can find in their songs. Like on the surface, they sound like simple, just like your regular catchy rock songs, but like when you dig deep, the musicianship is just like, it's unreal, man. Like it's one of those bands where every member is like annoyingly talented. Like they're all just like freaks. And a lot of times, like when bands are like that, they want to like each member will want to be in the spotlight and it doesn't work good together, but they work together super well. Like I love the guitar riffs, like the rhythm guitar, the solos are amazing. The bass, like the dude's bass lines are crazy. The drummer's insane. It just all clicks really well together. And lots of cool time signatures, which we obviously enjoy. And like to go on top of all that, great melodies, great vocals. Honestly, to me, like it has it all. It's such an awesome album. This was like, I guess I would categorize this as like some of their newer stuff. Their older stuff's not as good. It's more like Black Key, like old Black Keys kind of stuff. But you could like tell they were coming into what they were going to be. But like from here up, just like amazing stuff. And going back to festivals, I actually discovered them at a festival too. It's Forecastle in Louisville, Kentucky. I think that was 2016. And I had a schedule conflict and I saw Gary Clark Jr. instead of White Denim. And I wouldn't say I regret it because Gary Clark Jr. was an awesome show, but I gotta say, dude, I've been like dying to see him ever since that.
Oh, yeah.
Because like it was after that I really started getting into him. So, but they tour all the time. They put out like one album a year, basically. They have so many albums, and they're all like real quick 35, 40-minute albums, which I really like. But yeah, they're a really, really good band.
Nice. Yeah, man, I know you've been telling me to listen to them for years, and I've listened to a couple. You sent me some videos, some live performances, and they're really good. I need to check out the tunes on the playlist for this one for sure, and dive into this album a little bit.
Check them out.
Yeah, man.
I think I actually bought this album because I saw a YouTube video of them playing the song "Pretty Green" on the Letterman show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that one confirmed for me that I would be interested in purchasing the album.
Awesome. Well, I'll recap it. So let's see. For 2013, my top 5, we had Wintergarten by Wintergarten. Number 4, Dodge the Arrow by The Broadcast. Number 3, The Mountain by Haken. Number 2, New by Paul McCartney. And number 1, Requiem by Jono. And Brian's top 5. Number 5, we've got Bankrupt by Phoenix. Number 4, Vessel by 21 Pilots. Number 3, Wonderful Glorious by Eels. Number 2, Evil Friends by Portugal the Man. And number 1, Corsicana Lemonade by White Denim. What is Corsicana? What is that?
I think I looked it up once. I think it's a city or a town in Texas.
Okay.
Or a bar or something. They're from Austin, Texas, I think. So yeah, it's something local.
Nice.
Yeah,
Austin. That's a real deal music city. Speaking of, we were talking about Asheville. Austin's like, holy smokes.
Yeah. Big time. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thus ends our 2013 countdown. Brian, you got any teasers for us for 2014?
Yeah, I could try to think of one. I never actually have one, but I'll think of something. Yeah, I'm gonna bring in a little piece of Led Zeppelin. What you think about that one?
Oh, I think I solved that. I think I can solve that riddle.
Probably. It's not my number 1, so it's not an extreme spoiler, but yeah, that's the best I can do.
It's probably not a spoiler to say that my top 5 next year is very eclectic, ranges from instrumental jazz to metal. But I think one thing that probably is surprising is my number 1 album is very tied to 2 viral videos.
Ooh.
So there's my teaser for next time. My number 1 album, very tied to 2 viral videos.
I am interested.
Yeah.
I could just look because I have access to it. Maybe I'll just let it be a surprise.
Well, sweet. Well, gang, thank you for listening to us. Thanks for spending this time with us. We so enjoy doing this. And we look forward to the next time we talk through our 2014 top 10. And until then, listen to some good tunes, eat some good food. I don't know.
say I love you to your parents. What's another good piece of advice?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
It's not advice, but
it's true though. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if we record something next weekend, we could do something about like love songs or something for a segment.
Perhaps.
If we don't, then forget it. That's just stupid anyway.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for 2014.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.